At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Saturday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength, Saturday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Saturday. Saturday, bring it on.
Welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. One of the most anticipated episodes. I am one of your hosts this week, Professor Chris G. And on the other line with me is my great compadre. He is the one. He is the only. Well, the second, maybe the third. I don't know. He's one of the many Dougie Freshes. Dougie, my man, how you doing?
Well, as far as you're concerned, I'm the only.
You're the only on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you doing, man?
I'm flipping cold is how I'm doing.
Yeah, it's freaking in the negatives. Oh, man.
As the base.
Yeah, it's freaking... It's something. Like, it's so cold that my job said, hey, work from home tomorrow. And I'm like, all right. Do I get my full pay? All right, sweet. I will work where I'm sitting right now doing the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I would not want to be a meter reader today. I'll tell you that much for free.
Oh, I know. God, am I glad I got out of that field. Man, can you believe, and this is, I'm not going to say any company names or put anyone under, but can you believe back in 2019, in the weather that we have here today, that they actually had us out there doing that stuff and walking routes and all of that in negative weather like this? I think I sent you I have a picture still with icicles on my eyelashes of how cold it
Yeah,
is.
I'm pretty sure if I went back far enough in our text thread, I could find that.
But yeah, I've been out in this stuff, and man, am I glad that I don't have to do that anymore.
For real, bro. I mean, nobody should be out in this stuff, and I mean, it briefly today, I think it got up to like +1.
I know, and then it's like, you know what? Tricked ya, and it went right back down.
Yeah, but then I think by Wednesday, I think it's gonna be like to 15 or something.
Jeez.
And then like by the weekend, I think we're gonna be in the 30s.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we better, because we got stuff to do this weekend. I'm traveling this weekend, so.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah, we're supposed to travel this past weekend, but that's when my family up in the north ended up getting over like 15, 16 inches of snow. And
ooh, boy. Ooh.
Oh yeah. So my family told us, they said, hey, we don't want you traveling in this mess. Let's come up another time. So we're gonna come up a little bit later. So hopefully, as long as everything kind of aligns itself and the planets are all like in a row, that we'll be out there next Saturday. So
All right.
yeah, so that should be fun.
Sounds good. I was hoping you stayed home, but I didn't know.
Yeah, we did. We were supposed, like I said, we were supposed to, but You know me. I don't like driving in snow, and if you can give me an excuse to stick my butt and stay home, which we did not end up doing. We ended up celebrating another birthday of a family member and going out bowling in freaking sub-zero weather, but meh. I was mad. I was like, oh, come on. I was like, you can't give me one weekend. Just one weekend. Nope.
No, I think you gave that up when you got married and had kids.
Yeah, I did. All right, bro. Well, um, that being said, I say we kind of just jump on into it if you're ready, because we don't even
Oh,
have
for
to.
sure.
Yeah, because both of these episodes are gonna just kind of fly. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and click the button on my end, and we are starting. You ready, bro?
Yes,
Okay.
Netflix decided they wanted to join us, so I'm good to go.
All right. So we start this episode with a Metagross and a Graveler, which looks like they are having a Pokemon battle.
Are those two fighting? Please excuse me! You're all supposed to get along here! What's that? You're just playing? Oh, I was fooled by those scary faces of yours.
And we get a shot of Graveler just holding up Metagross over his head, doing some type of Pokemon yoga from what it looks like. And and Haru walks over and she's like, "Oh, um, I guess you guys are just playing. You guys scared me with those scary faces of yours." Which, you know what? If I was a Pokemon and I'm on an island to freaking like rejuice my batteries and to kind of feel good about myself, I don't know how I would like getting called scary by just looking at my face.
Like, yeah, I'm just trying to vibe, and you're like, "Oh, you need to work on that scary face." I was frightened. It's like, well,
Nobody told you to look in my face. We're over here minding our own business. You came over here to us.
that's
Man.
what you call syndrome. That's.
So, and then she's like, "Oh, Furret, you're at the chase again." And we see Furret is chasing Rattata again, and um, she's like, "Wait, no, stop! Just wait a second." And Furret goes and just jumps up into Haru's arms and is trying to get at Rattata. And then Haru is like, "You know what? I don't get paid enough for this." And she just starts sneezing into her hand. And Furret starts chasing Rattata again. She's like, "Furret, Rattata, Furret, Rattata." And Rattata goes and runs under her legs and makes her trip over her 2 feet, and she falls back on her butt, and Ferd and Rattata just start running away. And then we get a wide shot, and the Graveler that just had Metagross in his arms, Metagross just starts flying away with Graveler. Which is so cool to find out that that's what they were doing. And then yeah, we get the whole Pokemon Concierge logo. And now I'm going to pass it on over to you, my brother, with Haru trying to get cell reception.
Yeah, she's over. She's on the beach, trying to get. Oh, can I get a bar here? Can I get a bar here? Can I get, like you do when you're in the middle of a big city and you're trying to get reception. And, never mind the fact that she's on an isolated, resort. And I think part of the draw is the fact that, you're not on steady Wi-Fi, which some could argue is a health hazard, but, you've also got Pokemon that can fly you somewhere if need be, but that's neither here nor there. And Kyle and Alyssa are kind of watching this, a little ritual, and you know, Alyssa's like up, um, she's trying to look up things about Pokemon, and Alyssa's like, oh, somebody ought to tell her that the reception here is real bad. Um, and Tyler's like, you could put it more bluntly than that. Cell phones here are completely useless.
Yep.
And they're talking about, oh, I used to act like this when I first got here, and Alyssa's like, yeah, and I gave that shit up in day 3.
Poor Haru. I totally get it.
No luck here either, huh? Oh man. I was told that my job is to show the Pokemon a good time, but I have no idea what I'm supposed to do.
Before the sun sets, I want you to make that Pokemon feel the exact same way you do.
Ms. Watanabe, such a sweet face. For someone who's asking me to do an impossible thing.
And then this is where the telltale Psyduck
Peeks his head out.
pops out from between the bushes, and he's kind of looking on, and Haru is still kind of in her woe is me stuff, and we see the waves wash up on the shore, and then we cut to a scene of Alyssa painting on the side of a building, and
Well, it's a tent.
Mudkip is watching her, and
It's a tent.
oh, I guess it is. I just assumed because she was. I literally did not catch it as a tent, and I just assumed because she was painting it
That it was a building.
So yeah, so she's painting a tent, and Mudkip is watching, and then we see Haru walk by, and she's staring at her phone, and she's looking defeated, and that's when Alyssa's like, "Hey, what's with the look of doom?" And Alyssa's like, "Well, it's really important that I figure this out and I don't let Watanabe down." And meanwhile, Mudkip's running around her feet like, give me attention,
Look at me.
And and then this part confused me, because as Haru's petting Mudkip, she looks up, and how does she say it? She's like, oh, you're a great artist, Miss Alyssa. Like, I just assumed that these two women were around the same age.
I know. And well, I think they are, which is why Alyssa kind of got a little snuffed, because when she said Miss Alyssa, Alyssa was like, Miss Alyssa. Like she kind of gave that look like, girl, we're about the same age. You don't need to call me Miss. Because she kind of gave that off when she walked over, before she started letting Haru start painting on her mural.
Do you think, and I'm literally just coming up with this as I'm speaking, do you think she called her Miss Alyssa because of the fact that she's been there longer than Haru? Because Haru's literally been there, what, maybe 3 days at this point?
Yeah, and I'm guessing because being a senior person at a place, you get called sir, or you get called miss a lot, and it's not out of context or calling you old or anything. People are probably just saying that because they're paying respect to you because you've been there so long. You know more than them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I would say you're probably spot on, bro.
So she's probably just trying to be respectful and not rock the boat.
So, but it is at this point that that Haru starts painting on the mural as well, and she's like, So, Alyssa's like, so you're still stuck wondering what you're supposed to be doing, aren't you? And she's just painting. And she's like, yeah, I want to make sure the Pokemon have a good time here, but nothing I do seems to be working. And she's like, you know, you can find out what makes them happy and just make it happen. And she's like, yeah, but Pokemon don't exactly tell you what makes them happy. And she's like, well, most humans won't say it to your face either. And
Facts.
Yeah, but the Pokemon don't exactly tell you what makes them happy.
Well, most humans won't say it to your face either. They say things like, take a guess.
Hmm? That's true.
Hey, is that a Psyduck? That's so cool you like that Pokemon.
No. Well, yeah. It's actually supposed to be Pikachu.
Haru drew a picture, everyone. Just picture this if you're not watching it. She drew a picture of a fat Pikachu. Like the Pikachu has a big fat head with a fat belly, with some chunky arms, some chunky legs, and even has like a little chunky nose. And Alyssa walks over and is like, "Hey, is that a Psyduck? That's so cool. You like that Pokemon?" And Haru is like, well, yeah. And she's sweating on the side of her face. And she's like, it's actually supposed to be a Pikachu. So.
Which I call bullshit on Alyssa. Because, like, yeah, it's a rounder Pikachu than, it's supposed to, but it's got the Pikachu telltale cheeks, the little red. And, like, Psyduck doesn't have that, and Psyduck doesn't have pointy ears like that.
It could have been blushing.
Okay, but it doesn't have pointy ears.
No, it doesn't. You're right.
But, I mean, that's obviously, we're looking at it from, Alyssa's point of view, and or from Haru's point of view, rather, so.
Well, I thought it was a Pikachu, too, when I first saw it. I was like, oh, that's a weird-looking Pikachu.
For real.
That's like an OG Pikachu, like a day one Pikachu, the big chunky little squish ball. So
the OG Squishmallow.
I know. But she's like, yeah, I'm still trying to find myself. And then Mudkip just comes on over and looks right up and was like, hey, everybody, look. And then they just turn around and a big old Pidgeot just flies right through the tent, just ruining
bang.
Just ruined their whole mural. And they're like, oh. And Alyssa's like, oh, you really went for it, huh? And Pidgeot's like, yep. And it's like, I guess you don't really get the chance to fly free in the big city, do you? And Pidgeot's like, yeah, you're right. And Alyssa's like, oh, you must be just trying to blow off some steam. And she's like, don't worry about those doodles of ours. And Haru's like, well, speak for yourself. I just drew a really nice Pikachu that you thought was a Psyduck. And Alyssa's like, yeah, the important thing is to play where there's lots of space. So just go and find a place where nobody can get hurt. And Pidgeot just goes and starts flying away. And Alyssa's like, yeah, see? Pokemon are pretty unpredictable, you know? And Haru's like, yeah. And they just look up. And from here, I'm going to give you this next scene, my brother.
So then we come over to Pansage and Panseer, Pampor, and Tyler doing yoga with Haru, and she's still trying to get advice from Tyler, which at this point I've kind of started to realize is like trying to get advice from a fence post. I mean, the dude might make some good points, but he's so laid back, it like takes him forever to get there. he's like, early days can be hard, and you just got to do what you can do, um, and Haru's like, well, that's great, but is there anything specific I'm supposed to be doing?
As she's bending
And
over doing yoga.
And Tyler's like, well, don't be asking me. You just got to kind of figure it out for yourself. And she's fully bent over, and she looks between her legs, and she sees Psyduck, and
Sees her.
Psyduck sees her see him, and I had to pause because I'm like, I'm gonna get this right. And he runs off.
Tyler, what's with that one?
Oh, you mean Psyduck? Miss Watanabe's been taking care of it. It's been here about 2 weeks, but it's super shy, so it hasn't really made any connections.
I don't think it's having fun. Right then. Psyduck, I choose you!
We do like a little break, basically, like
as if it was on TV. Yeah.
I would say they just ripped this. I would almost say I would say directly from Japan, but didn't you say this came on Netflix in Japan and America the same day?
The exact same day. Yep.
So it's not like Japan got this on there like on a TV channel first, and we took it and put it on Netflix. So I don't know. It could be the animators are like, well, we made these little indents. You're gonna put them somewhere. But so we come back from the little break that wasn't really a break, and Haru's walking the pass, and she's calling for Psyduck, and lo and behold, Psyduck pops his head out from behind Haru, and she's like, "Oh, Psyduck," and Psyduck's like, "Nope," and then they do, she kind of turns her back, and Psyduck pokes his head back out, and then Haru turns around, and Psyduck pops his head back in, and Psyduck gets a little closer, and every time Haru turns around, Psyduck goes back in, and finally Haru just kind of throws her hand up, and she's like, "Come on, Psyduck." So basically, Haru and Psyduck are playing like a low stakes game of hide and seek. Like every time Haru is standing there and has her back turned, Psyduck pops his head out. But every time Haru turns around, to catch Psyduck, Psyduck's like, "Nope," and goes back in. And finally Haru's like, "Oh, really, Psyduck? Is this what we're doing?" And she's like, "Okay, fine." And she's like, "Well, bring it on." And Psyduck's like, "You can't catch me." And and then we cut and Haru is kind of chilling in the main village area, or the commons area. I don't even know how you would describe
like the cafe area.
There you go. And she's on her computer.
So she finally got Wi-Fi.
She got Wi-Fi, which I think she had to go into the cafeteria to get, because obviously if the food trucks and stuff are taking payment and stuff. And she's basically reading Psyduck's Pokédex entry, talking about Psyduck suffers from constant headaches, and
that when the headache turns intense, it begins using mysterious powers.
And as soon as she says mysterious powers, her little container of candy,
like Skittles,
right, just goes up in midair, and Haru's kind of like, "What the world's going on?" And Psyduck comes out from behind one of the trucks, and you can see that it's like in the middle of a powerful headache. It's like, this sucks. And all Haru's candy just falls on her head, and Psyduck just goes running back into the woods, and we see all the Pokemon that were in the village coming back down to Earth because they were literally like in midair. And Haru takes a piece of candy off of her head, and she's like, its psychic powers are out of control. We've got to figure this out. And she takes off on her little scooter to follow, or I guess to track down, I should say. And she sees Psyduck's tail rounding a corner, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a Diglett
just pops his head up.
just pops out like, I'm here now. And Haru, being responsible, does veer to not run over the poor thing. And who should she run into?
Tyler.
and they smack into each other, and the Diglett sees the crash and is like, I'm out of here. But then, does that thing we all do when we pass an accident and pokes its head back out to see if it could,
if it can help watch it.
If it can help by watching, which, I mean, I'm guilty of it, so I'm not trying to pass judgment on anybody. And, they're sitting there and they're like, are you okay? And, Tyler's picking up his pot, and, Tyler's like, what was that about? What was the hurry? And Haru goes into this manic explanation of
Introducing Le Sel de Say, the new fragrance for men by Issey Miyake. A tribute to today's masculinity that gives men the desire to live intensely. A fragrance inspired by salt, an essential element of nature. An incisive freshness with a bold blend of woody and marine notes. Awaken your senses. Le Sel de Say by Issey Miyake. Available at Macy's.
Oh my god, it's the coolest thing ever. Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? Well, check this out. It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. They ship Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garten's famous cakes. Seriously. So if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT.
Oh no. Are you okay?
I'm sorry.
What were you doing? What was the hurry?
I was chasing after Psyduck when Diglett suddenly appeared in front of me, and I tried to swerve to avoid it, but the scooter went out of control, and then boom!
Come on. Everything's fine.
Yeah, but what's that?
It was filling for the pies I'm making for dessert. But I can use the berries over there to make more. Pansier and its pals should be picking them now.
Oh, then I'll carry them for you.
Tyler's like, that's all well and good, but you got to at least take my my cart. And, she's gone. And then Diglett pops up. And apparently the foraging mission was a success, because the next thing we see is Haru walking with Pansage, Panpour, and Panseer with a cart full of fresh fruit. And, she's thanking... Haru is thanking the Pokemon. And, they're walking, doing their own thing. And she's sitting there. She's like, I wonder what that Psyduck got off to. And this part pissed me off when I first watched it.
Oh, the rock in the road?
Because she hits the rock, right?
Yes.
And, you know, we've all hit rocks in the road. You go around the rock
Yes.
and you just continue on your path and you don't let it bother you. It's just a little rock. Not Haru. No, no,
No.
no. She's had a day. She's
She's
pissed off.
she said, "I'm gonna go over the rock."
And in her effort to, you know, to use what the kids are saying these days,
Get,
in her effort to yeet
get,
her cart over this rock, obviously we know how that's going to go. And all of a sudden, all the fruit she picked just starts rolling downhill. And, you know, she's like straining after it. She's like, no, come back, no. And it's rolling, it's rolling, it's rolling. It's Undertaker in 2002. It's just rolling, rolling, rolling. And then all of a sudden, the fruit starts levitating.
Yep.
And Haru stops and she sees Psyduck off to the side. And he's straining to hold up all the fruit. And he pardon me, he brings it down in a neat pile in front of Haru, and she's like, "Thank you, Psyduck, you saved the day." And Psyduck runs off because, you know, um he thinks, you know, he's in pain, and and the psychic powers are a side effect. And Haru catches him,
And it's like, no.
and
She's like, no, no, no. Your everything is fine. Just makes them all happy again.
and um and she's like, "Are you worried about, like, problems your psychic powers are causing?" And um she's like, "When you get headaches, your psychic powers become active, right?" And Psyduck's like, basically, yeah." And and she's like, "You know, I wonder if there's a way of getting your powers under control." And Psyduck's just kind of chilling. He's like, "You're saying a lot of words, and they're not really making sense, but you seem to know what you're talking about." And then we cut to Alyssa with Mudkip, and Mudkip's just going ham on some flowers. And Alyssa's like, "See, the problem is you're spraying all your water at once."
And it's not
But
and it's not a miss, and you're knocking all the flowers down.
and she's like, "But if you just do a little at a time, it'll be a nice gentle mist." And we have another case of them kind of figuring out how water works, like, as, like, because I mean, you remember in the first episode when we kind of
Yeah.
were taking a few shots at him for the scene where Haru fell in the water, but then um later in the same episode, when I think when Mudkip sprayed her for the first time, it was like that looked like natural water. So it's kind of like, you know, what take do we want to use this time or whatever.
Yeah. Well, this one I give them credit because they got you know how hard it must have been to do the start stop on the hose spraying out the water onto the flowers, and how much time that probably took, because if you
Yeah,
actually look at it, like, they literally like had like little dots of water. It had to be on a flat, on like a flat surface, right? They had to do that as like just something just flat, and just had the dots move little by little.
had to.
Yeah. So that's just what I'm thinking, because otherwise they edited that in at the end, but I mean, it doesn't look like it. It looks like it was all like start stop, and they did a really good job on it. So good job, people that made Pokemon Concierge. You figured out water.
Yeah,
So all
good,
right.
good shit. So as Alyssa's kind of explaining that to Mudkip, um, Haru kind of overhears, and she's like, "Ah," and and then she looks over to Psyduck and she's like, "Ah, why don't we try to control your powers by letting them out a little at a time?" And Psyduck's like, all right, I mean, I'm not gonna say no. And we cut back to the cafeteria area, and we see Tyler is tending to a pot, and from off in the distance we hear, "Hey Tyler, look who I ran into." And he looks over and he's, "Oh, you caught up with Psyduck." And um Psyduck's like, "Yeah, check this shit out." And he starts to try to focus his psychic energy, and Haru puts a melon in front of him, and the melon levitates, and then it just splits in half. And Tyler's like, "Dude, that's good shit." And
That's gonna save a lot of
the
time.
Pokemon, that's just for real. And the Pokemon are like, "Yeah, way to go, way to control that Psyduck." And Haru's like, "Sweet, let's try some more." And we have a montage of him working. It looks like he's trying to maybe knock over some boxes, but then we look over to the side and we see that he's actually affecting um, Melodic and some resort goers, and then we see Haru working in the garden with a scythe, a sharp ass, like a big ass scythe too, not just a little dinky gardening scythe, like a big ass, like I'm gonna get you, sucker, kind of thing.
Yeah. and
And
and Psyduck uses his psychic powers and just lifts her up into the air. And Haru is like, Psyduck, please let me down. Please let me down. And she's just hanging in midair. And then we go to her. Bless you. To
thank you.
To her. Looks like she's putting some towels on a clothesline, and Psyduck takes one of the towels and just completely wraps it around Haru by accident. And she's like, nice move, Psyduck. Let's see. And then it is nighttime, everyone. So we go straight from that, and it's nighttime, and Psyduck and Haru are just talking, and she's like, they're both eating some what looks like vanilla ice cream, and Haru takes out her candy, and she's like, these candies kind of remind me of Pokemon. And she's like, see, that one looks like Hoppit, and that one looks like Mudkip. Here's Bulbasaur, and the yellow one is it's Psyduck. And Psyduck is like, oh, it reminds you of me. Cool. And she's like, yeah, when I was a little kid, it was my dream to eat as much candy as I wanted when I grew up. And she just looks up at the stars and she's like, it's nice having so much freedom. She's like, hey, Psyduck, can you toss some candy up using your powers? And she puts some of the Skittles in her hand. And she's like, here, like this. And she throws it up and it pops it right in her mouth, just catching the candy into her hand. And Psyduck just starts popping them out of the container. And it's like, pop, 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 pop. And Haru's like, wait, oh, you're going too fast. I can't eat that many. Oh my gosh, Psyduck, wait. And Psyduck looks over. And he's like, oh, you were just having fun just now, weren't you? And Psyduck goes in and just starts cuddling up to her. She's like, oh, Psyduck. And they're like, hey. And they look up and they see a shooting star. And she's like, I wish to have fun with Pokemon tomorrow too. And then that is the end of the episode. So, how did you like it, bro?
Pardon me. I liked it. I mean, it had some funny moments. We had a little bit more conflict, in so much that you had a little bit more of Haru trying to kind of get a hold of the, pardon me, of the Psyduck situation. But, you know, I mean, I do have to point out that it was shorter than the first episode. So there wasn't as much to get into.
Yeah.
But I will say that they didn't really... The plus of it being the second episode was they didn't really have to spend time setting anything up. It's like, okay, you understand where you were when you turned off the first episode. Like, we're right back at it. We're not going to spend... You know, our catch-up time was her on the beach trying to get a signal.
Yes. So, okay. Well, that being said, well then, go ahead and give your goodbye, Doug.
Goodbye, Doug.
And this is Professor Chris G telling all of you, I promise we'll be back next week. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week.